Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Insider Gaming Weekly, a video game podcast. I am Mike Straw, one of Insider Gaming's senior editors. Alongside with me, as always, is my co-senior editor, Grant Taylor Hill, and senior producer, A to the P, Albert Perkins. Guys, it's been another week. How you feeling?
Oh, it's been a good one. We've had so much news coming out this week. We've had exclusives coming out this week. We've had delays. We've had some heartbreaking news, which we're going to cover today. Heartbreaking for me, not for anyone else, because I don't think anyone cares. But it's been busy, and I still feel like we should only be halfway through the week. Is it almost over? We don't really sleep. We never sleep. We have a 7-day week here in Insider Gaming. AP, you could attest to that too, man.
Oh man, 100%, bro. I mean, a lot of my insider todays, a couple of them this past week, they've gone over, most of the time they're 45 to 60 seconds, but I think a couple this week went past 60 seconds just because Insider Gaming has just been buzzing this week with news, man. So I'm telling you what, guys, if you're not locked in, you need to be because there's so much information going down here as we roll through 2025.
And there is a lot to get to today. But before we do that, as always, make sure you are liking and subscribing to Insider Gaming on YouTube if you are watching us there. If you listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your shows, subscribe, leave a rating, and it helps us grow. It helps increase the reach. Also, we have a weekly newsletter that over 44,000 people are subscribed to. It goes out every Tuesday with the latest news, a recap of the week that's been, upcoming game releases, the latest in esports news you need to know about, random video game facts, and more. Every Tuesday, you can sign up for that at insider-gaming.com/subscribe. But before we get into the news, it's the question we start every week with. Guys, well, AP, I'll start with you. What's new? What you've been playing? Are you still in Final Fantasy land, or have you finally moved on?
Man, there's nothing new, man. I'm locked. I keep telling you, bro, every week I am locked in, bro. I'm telling you what, it's phenomenal. So, I think the last time we talked about it last week, I said I was in Corral, and I just wrapped up in there over this past week and everything. If you've played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I'm not going to spoil you or anything, but things get really, really intense with one of the characters there, one of the main characters in Corel. So a lot of story development there. Did not expect that. It's just been a while since I played 7, so just didn't expect it and everything. So that was really good to go through that. But a lot of story development, and that's what I love to see whenever I'm playing that game. So it's moving along quite well, I will say, though. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be locked in for quite some time until I get this bad boy wrapped up. But I am loving it, Mike. Loving it, bro.
Grant, what you into?
Me, you know what? I feel like I haven't played much new stuff this week. So I'm still on the Dying Light 2 grind, which I know is weird. It just seems like such a out of left field game because I was going to say who's really playing that anymore, but loads of people are because Techland do great live service. So I'm still grinding that. Escape from Tarkov, bit of PvE, Black Ops 6 because there was a minor tournament just the weekend gone. And it was really cool. It was great to watch. I do love my Call of Duty esports, so that was great. But wait, there's more because I also played. I got an exclusive hour-and-a-half long extended play of Atomfall, which is set to launch at the end of the month. So
Nice.
Rebellion invited me to come and play the game. Well, not come and play the game. I could have gone to play the game, but I opted for a remote digital playthrough, which was really cool. It was set kind of like a couple of hours into the game, so you had some nice equipment to play around with, and you got to explore a nice area of the game as well. And it was my second play because I played it back at Gamescom. I think I mentioned that before. I already played it at Gamescom, and stellar stuff. Like I've it's one of my most anticipated games of 2025. I've been saying that for a while, and it still is. After my little preview, I can't wait for it to come out, and there will be a full preview on Insider Gaming. And there will be a full review on Insider Gaming, video and written. I'm very, very excited for this game. I really am excited for this game. So that's been me this week.
I haven't been playing anything. This week has been, I've been in such interview for one of the exclusives that dropped in Insider Gaming that we'll get to in a little bit. I've been in full interview for that mode. I've been talking with people for a couple other stories I'm chasing down. I have not had the time to play a thing, and I hate it, but I also love it at the same time because that means more fun stuff to talk about. And we have a lot of fun stuff to talk about in things that let us escape from reality in a way, but not unfortunately, we can't really escape reality in most of the news, it seems, nowadays when it comes to gaming. And we're going to kick things off with the news of the week, talking about Far Cry and Ubisoft's extraction-based multiplayer shooter that had been in development for some time being rebooted. Earlier this week, our own Tom Henderson reported that the game under the codename Maverick was rebooted, and it was originally supposed to be part of the multiplayer component for Far Cry 7, turned into its own project in 2023, but after an internal review, everything kind of got restarted. So my reading through Tom's report where he said sources with the project's development said that the writing was on the wall for a number of months and that the final nail in the coffin came after its dedicated tech team was moved on from Maverick to Blackbird, which is Far Cry 7. I'm sitting there and my immediate thought was, does Far Cry as a franchise need a standalone multiplayer game? Grant, I'll start with you. I don't see how it does. I didn't think Far Cry was a series that needed multiplayer to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, some of them have had co-op, which has been quite enjoyable. The old back in the day with like the map designer and stuff, that was always good fun. And they revitalized that, didn't they? The whole like it becoming a standalone component isn't unheard of. Like I was talking about Dying Light 2, and they're doing that with Dying Light 2 and The Beast. The Beast was supposed to be a DLC for Dying Light 2, but then they said, no, this thing is like chunky enough that it can just be its own standalone game, which is great. The whole extraction shooter multiplayer thing, probably not as good. The premise that they had where it was you surviving in like the Alaskan wilderness against animals and AI and other players, like it's not something it's never been done before, but the premise sounded good, and that's like Far Cry through and through, that little recipe there. I'm sure there'll be a few towers to unlock and things like that as well. You know what Far Cry is like. But the extraction shooter thing, I think, is working its way out now, working its way out of everyone's systems. There were so many coming up at one point, and a lot of them kind of failed. Like the Cycle, COD DMZ, you had Marauders, Level Zero Extraction. Other games tried to put extraction shooters in their games, like Battlefield 2042 with Hazard Zone. Didn't really work, okay? Escape from Tarkov really kind of has the cream of the crop there. Nothing can top that. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a fan. The proof is in the numbers. As for the whole reboot thing, I'm interested to see like how it's been rebooted. If it's like a complete rewipe, and they've got a completely different concept and premise coming in, or if they're still going with the extraction shooter thing set in Alaska, and then I don't know what they're gonna do with it. Ubisoft doing an extraction shooter is not like unheard of. The Division has Dark Zone, which is an extraction shooter mechanic in the Division, which works just fine.
Yeah.
And that suits that game down to the ground. But Far Cry, yeah, I could see it working as like a mode tacked on to the game as a complete standalone thing. I mean, what's it going to be? Your typical free-to-play live service, Ubisoft, you don't have much luck in that arena, I'm afraid. So you've been.
What are you talking about? They've hit home run after home run.
They've come and gone. What was the? So we had X Defiant. What was the one they did? The battle royale one, Hyperscape or something like that.
Oh,
was that the one? Something it's called something like Hyperscape or Hyper. And that was the thing. Battle royales were big, and then Ubisoft is like, we're going to do this thing, and it falls flat. Extraction shooters, they're kind of big. Ubisoft says we're going to do one, it's going to fall flat. So that's my 2 cents. Well, it's more like a 10 cents with the amount I went in, but yeah.
10 cent.
Yeah. Oi.
Oh.
Gaming.
I see what you did there.
No.
Leak. Who have they acquired? Oh, man, they've acquired GB. Don't tell anyone.
AP, do you have any... What are your thoughts on just Far Cry itself? I don't know, just... Again, I still think it, even with like it not being out of the ordinary to spin off something like this, I just don't see how an extraction for that series would work. Like,
Yeah.
and it just, to me, maybe it feels like we're in a point again where you're chasing trends that shouldn't be chased rather than trying something, new.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, I think the big question behind this is, will there be enough interest for this game in itself? As Tom mentioned, I believe in an article, the reason for the reboot's unclear. That in itself is interesting to me. Far Cry has always been a game that's, obviously thrived on single player. This is obviously a big risk going multiplayer here and everything with live service and whatnot. But, for it to be multiplayer, I'm not sure if they've, kind of like put out surveys to players to kind of gauge their interest. I do like the concept. I like the idea of it, but I'm not sure if it's popular enough to, gauge enough interest to be successful. But I guess we'll see. Ubisoft's taking risks. You can't blame them for taking risks,
What can they do?
I mean, you kind of can. It hasn't really worked out, these risks they're taking.
True.
Because they're not really the best risks to take.
Mm.
But I think, like, what was it? Far Cry 6, I think, on Steam. And I know this is just Steam numbers. You can't go in because who knows what console is. But I think Far Cry 6 on Steam peaked at like 20,000 players, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they release an extraction shooter and it doesn't, like, that would be, you can't think an extraction shooter for Far Cry would hit what the actual mainline games would hit.
No.
Like, I would assume you give it maybe 30% to 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Would they be happy at, 10,000 people on Steam? No, I don't think. I mean, we saw just how much money they put in X Defiant. Like, even when it was doing well at its launch, they didn't seem to be too happy about what happened with it. So I don't know. Granted, they didn't release it on Steam. Big blunder on their end. And it was Hyperscape, by the way.
Oh, okay. I thought it was. Yeah, we're talking like 4 or 5 years ago now, though.
Yeah, Rumbleverse came from Epic. That was one thing I was coming for, but for some reason I always thought it was a Ubisoft game. So that was Epic Games.
Do you guys remember Hyperscape at all, though? It was so weird.
Not at all.
The order of the day with Hyperscape was verticality. So, like, the maps had like these really tall buildings and stuff, and you could it was so weird. You get a power up that would put you in like a Zorb, like the big balls that are filled with air, and you get inside them and you bounce around. They had a thing like where one of your abilities would be to get in one of those and like bounce around the map and stuff. It was weird, man. Really strange. Really strange.
Yeah. Topic number 2. I'm flipping them a little. So we're gonna move into The Last of Us.
Oh,
because I know we have our rundown. We'll get to that. But hey, just a little bit. That's what I do. Neil Druckmann, in an interview with Variety, suggested that there might not be another Last of Us game, despite, and we'll get into that in a minute, that The Last of Us may be finished as we know it. They'll continue on with the show that we have getting ready to come out, but for season 2, and then, season 3 will be the second half of the game. But there might not be a Last of Us 3. And Grant, we know this breaks your heart. You alluded to it earlier.
Man.
But there's no way they aren't doing a Last of Us 3 when Druckmann himself previously confirmed that it was in production. Well, early production.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, right? It is heartbreaking. I mean, I've got it. I wear that on my skin. I do, my big old Last of Us tattoo. I love it. I absolutely adore both games, and everything else they want to throw at me out of that. Like, just today, they announced the Last of Us controller, the DualSense controller, and I just got the Midnight Black one, and I just got a Chroma one. But you best believe I'm getting the Last of Us controller as well. But it's weird, right? Like you say, Druckmann last year came out and said in the Grounded documentary that there's like one more chapter left. And then fast forward to today where he's saying this might be it. Don't bet on there being any more, which is crazy. I know they've got Intergalactic that they're focusing on now, but there was an air of finality to The Last of Us Part 2, but there were so many questions left unanswered, and there are so many avenues that they could take for a third chapter. Like, some of it just writes itself. I don't know if you guys have played it, but at the end, you've got Abby and Liv going off to find the Fireflies, which is a game in itself. You've got Ellie probably going to Riku with Dina, if that's the way she goes. Loads of people want a Tommy and Joel prequel, which is, you've got 20 years of history there. Those guys brilliant. Between That's what I mean. Between the Outbreak and starting in Boston in The Last of Us Part 1, you've got 20 years of history with these guys surviving in this, apocalyptic world. So much there. They were going to do a bit of a spin-off with the multiplayer game. That was cancelled. But I just think there's still so much they could do. I don't see them never making another one. At the moment, we've got 12 years, 2 games, about 18 remakes and remasters.
That's what I was gonna say. Don't forget.
It feels like that at this point. But honestly, like I could see them. Okay, so take the same time frame. You'd think maybe the next one comes out like 2028. I don't know, something like that. Don't quote me. But I can't see them dipping it forever. Like forever. It seems crazy. Neil had the thing before where he said, we're no longer announcing games super early because it leads to like grinding and burning out and whatnot. Maybe this is the antithesis of that. Maybe he's turning around and saying, we're just going to say we're not going to do it at all. And then we actually are. So, I mean, I can hope. I can live in hope. I would do nasty things for a part 3. I really would.
I mean, I have this weird feeling that any extension of the story is strictly going to come via the show.
Maybe if there's,
I could see that.
Is that what they did with like Game of Thrones? Because I never saw it like as it was unraveling. Did the show?
Yeah, they didn't have enough book to keep going. Yeah, they had no more books, so they're like, all right, let's write it ourselves.
So they could
we saw what happened when they wrote it themselves. It sucked.
Yeah, there is that. But I know AP is a Last of Us fan as well, so I'm curious to see what you think about this.
Huge, Grant. I mean, look, for The Last of Us, I mean, the story is absolutely brilliant through and through. The past 2 games, man. It's so good that it's spawned these 2 beautiful seasons. I assume it's going to be a beautiful for season 2. That's upcoming here next. Is that next month or this month? I can't remember. I think it's next.
April 13th, I think. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's right. And so, for me, it's like the game's been so successful. It's like, how do you ignore not making a part 3? And it just seems bizarre. To Mike's point, how I believe, Mike, you mentioned, like, he did announce it that they were going to be working on a part 3, and then he comes out with this, this statement through Variety, and it's like, what? Why would it just kind of seemed random too? How you would come out with a statement like that, especially just prior to The Last of Us Season 2 launching on Max. So, if it's one thing, if the story is complete, there's not much more to tell. I get that. But as you're alluding to, Grant, there just seems like there's so many more stories that we can tap into with this franchise. And I would love to hear more about it all of it,
Yeah, I think I don't think we have to. The one thing we've got to lean on is the ambiguity, because he was like, oh, this like could be it, don't bet on it or whatever. He's not like unequivocally saying we are done. The door is still open. The door is ajar, I think it's...
and it could be we're done after 3.
Yeah, that's more ambiguity.
That's what I think. If they do again, I still think, like, I agree. Ultimately, a new game comes out.
Yeah.
Probably not until 2030.
Yeah.
That's kind of where my mind is, because, The Last of Us came out in 2013. Part 2 came out in 2020. So that's 7 years. And then they just, they've remastered. They've done the 18, 19, 242 remasters. Real quick, the fact that they released a remaster a year after releasing the original version of the game still eats at me.
Yeah.
You know what?
It bothers me.
You know what's
so
insane?
much.
What's also insane is that I'll buy every damn one of them too.
God, you're the worst.
Just to see if anything's different.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
I can tell you what happened.
So this is the thing, right? We say they're not different, but look at The Last of Us Part 2, and then look at The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, where they did add in like the no return stuff, like the is it rogue light, whatever it is, like the the wave survival thing where you go in as different characters in different settings, with different weapons, different challenges. Oh, that was cool. That was really cool. And then they released the documentaries and things around it. So that was enough for me to consider it to be like a fresh purchase. Yeah, when it comes out on PC, it's a different question, because I've already played it on PlayStation 5. But there's nothing new going on to the PC version apart from some performance upgrades and stuff. So that's like a frivolous purchase. I'm not going to get that.
I don't know. 2030 is when I think we'd see it, if we see it.
Yeah,
because it won't be the next game. I can tell you that. Yeah. We all know it's not going to be the next one. Intergalactic is going to be the next one.
What's it called?
PS6 launch title, maybe?
Hey,
No.
hey.
No.
Nope. I don't think.
PS6
What
Pro.
it's gonna do, it's gonna come. Bingo. It's gonna hit like a
This one.
PS6 mid-gen, but it'll also still be released on PS4 and PS5. You know, because that's just what studios do.
Could you imagine how it would look?
Let's see that.
I don't even want to go. I'm gonna lose it. I'm already thinking of this, and I'm like, I'm getting myself angry at something that isn't likely to happen, but I'm still getting mad about it. And speaking of getting mad, we have more layoff news. And it's not a brand new layoff. It's a follow-up, an exclusive that dropped on Wednesday at Insider Gaming. I had reported that Ballistic Moon was, quote, effectively closed. And this came out of nowhere to me because we talked about last week, like tracking layoffs and all that. And I had been reached out saying, hey, the numbers you have or that have been publicly announced, yeah, they're not it. Like they're just not, they're not accurate. Like they're little on the low side. Like, all right, what are the numbers? And like it was actually like around 40 people let go in September, and then they had another round of layoffs in December. And all that's left are the studio's founders and maybe a handful of employees at most, and that the company, there's no game, no projects, no developers, nothing in development at Ballistic Moon. Ballistic Moon, if you don't know, is the developer behind the Until Dawn remake, a remake that no one asked for of Supermassive Games. Ballistic Moon was formed by former Supermassive Game employees, and then PlayStation hired them to remake a game that wasn't that popular when it first launched in 2015, was very niche to begin with, and then released this last year. They had the layoffs before the game was released. They kept a skeleton staff to offer post-launch support and development on Until Dawn. That's gone. Sony had suggested to the studio that, you know, they might come back, greenlight either more funding for updates to Until Dawn or another project. That didn't come to fruition, and the publishers or the owners could not get any sort of funding from a publisher, could not find a single publisher willing to pick up their pitch for their next game. And one of the things I was told specifically, and this is kind of the whole point, is publishers just don't want to spend the money right now. And that leads, it kind of just comes full circle on what we were talking about last week and like, what's the next shoe to drop? I don't know. Like, is it a case of, with at least with this Ballistic Moon, you know, the developers who are building that game worked hard, but were they set up to fail by one, remaking a game and remastering a game no one really wanted, didn't do that well in the begin with, and then two, with the expectation, it just failed to meet the expectations that Sony put on it at the end of the day? Like, were they set up to fail to where now this is the outcome?
So I was taking a look at it, right? And I think it was probably, like you say, it was a long time coming. They had the previous layoffs before the game even hit the market. But if you like go on the website, because I was poking around, if you go on the website for Ballistic Moon, you see that they're still listing the Until Dawn remake as like coming soon. Like it's just completely flat dead. And people are complaining, saying there's like bugs in the game. And you say this, it's not even a skeleton crew. There is no one to fix this stuff. There's no one to patch anything out. So it's just gone, right? And I think when we were talking last week about layoffs, we said that one of the things that it seems like people expect us to do sometimes is brush these things under the carpet, right? And that's this to a T. I think they would have been perfectly happy with no one ever knowing that this had happened. And we saw some complaints of, like, I think you mentioned in your coverage, like weeks of unpaid work or something like that, or people have been, you know, it's got to that point there where, you know, they're owed. They've just been kicked out on their behind. And this is a UK company too. So the way that things work in the United Kingdom is, you usually, if you're going to be made redundant, you have like a much longer period where you're put into a period of consultation, which usually lasts about 30 days. And then, you know, you have like a window to potentially find some alternate like another job, or if they can figure something out in the company. So this stuff was a long time coming. And it feels like if it wasn't for the diligent work of Mike Straw here, probably never would have seen the light of day, right? And I think that's what we said. Like, you know, that's what we've got to be really careful of, is this stuff being completely ignored, or we talked about desensitization. We don't want that to happen at all. Regardless of how many people played Until Dawn or whether anyone wanted a remake, this is a studio that probably is, we're not going to, I don't wish ill anyone or anything like that. I'm not predicting anything. I'm not the bringer of bad news, but I could see them going kaput, see them going under. There's nothing for them to work on right now.
Yeah, I don't AP, like you see, like exactly going for it. So they're not officially shut down. Like that's never been announced.
Yeah.
The owners aren't getting back to me. I tried no less than half a dozen times at multiple different email addresses, multiple different ways to contact too. But so there's always that possibility a publisher finally signs on or they get funding somehow. But you got to think just the longer it goes without them addressing it, the more likely AP this is going to just end up being just another casualty of where we're at in the industry.
Yeah. It just shows that, the challenges that, smaller developers like this and, that they face in this kind of market, extremely volatile and everything. And it goes back to your point. No one really asked for an Until Dawn remake, and it's such an extremely specific niche, that it's not one that's necessarily like immensely popular enough that it would garner for a remake, so that just kind of questions me as to why we received this in the first place, I guess, so to me, it just makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, the remake peaked on Steam, by the way, at 2,600 people.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I know we're not
That's
like
not...
everybody. Don't put everything. It's way more than Concord had.
That's true.
Almost 4 times more than Concord had.
Yeah,
that's wild to think about.
But it was just, I feel, again, a game that I feel might have been just set up to fail, a studio that was set up to fail, and now they're going. Ballistic Moon started at the turn of the decade, and they're going to have one game to their name, and we're in a point where and this was what bothers me. The publishers, Sony's at fault with this, Ubisoft's at fault with this, Microsoft's at fault. Every EA, every big publisher, they expect every game that comes out, even a studio's first game, to generate millions upon millions. Granted, you got to recoup. But historically speaking, we see studios hit their stride after that first game. That first game you got that first game out. Especially with a remake like this, you let them get you let them get everything out from under them. And a remake like this seemed like that perfect opportunity to kind of hammer out all the issues internally, and then they come out with their first own game, their first IP, and you see what they can really do as a studio. And you see this time and time again of these studios not getting that chance to find their stride.
Yeah.
I hate it. Like it makes me so sad that I've become this in my career. That I've become it feels like every week I'm reporting some sort of story on like getting some new information. I mean, we had the 1010 stuff not long ago, and now this, and next week will probably be something.
100%.
It's so depressing, and it's not getting any better. We're not going to dive into it again, but we're going to move on. Call of Duty. There's a lot of Call of Duty news. We saved it for the last news item of the week because this one will be a lot. Season 3 delayed. Verdansk not here yet. Development of Call of Duty 2025 is happening on last gen consoles still. But Call of Duty 2026 is apparently, according to Ghost of Hope, it is being in development for the next gen Xbox for 2026. A lot sooner than anybody thinks. And there's another thing on this. Warzone 3 might not happen if this next run of updates to Warzone doesn't stick the landing. There's a lot here. Granted, the next gen, before we get into that, the next gen side of things, like next gen Xbox, seems to be the most suspicious out of it. Let's just take that immediately. If you're listening, take anything like that with a grain of salt, a huge grain of salt, until Insider Gaming independently verifies it. Like, that's just how it is. Any rumors you hear that don't come directly from us, you should take with a grain of salt until we can verify it or it gets officially announced, plain and simple. But with that said, Grant, kick us off, because you are the Call of Duty head honcho here when Tom's not around, you know.
I mean, even
Uh,
then.
We'll have some fighting in a few minutes.
Oh
when Tom
man,
wins.
I'm sitting here wearing a Call of Duty esports hoodie. If that means
That
anything.
means nothing. I can go get a hockey jersey. I don't play.
Man. Well, I do.
I'm saying professionally.
Oh, okay. I did. Anyway, yeah. So this is a big thing, right? So taking it in the order that you've kind of relayed it. So the whole season 3 delay is really unheard of. Usually these guys are bang on it with their release schedules, and if they're going to push something back, it'll be hours or days at the most. And this is weeks. They've pushed it back a couple of weeks, which is crazy. Because they've said, you know, the usual kind of stuff. They want to make sure they got the best experience possible for players and whatever. And people are, you know, we're steeped in anticipation that it's going to be the arrival of Verdansk, which has long been rumored. We were the first ones to break that way back when, that Verdansk would be making a comeback, and it is. You know, it's almost confirmed, not confirmed, is confirmed. Who knows? They said it was, but on the 10th, they're doing a release of a line of merch for Verdansk, and it's coming up on the anniversary of the release of the map. So perfect time, right? Makes sense. 5-year anniversary, bring it back. And they did say, yes, that if Verdansk, this is what Ghost of Hope said, if Verdansk is not a success, if it doesn't retain players or bring back enough players, something along those lines, then when COD 2020, whichever comes around, there will be no Warzone 3. What they mean by that is just the evolution and the new iteration. So Modern Warfare 2 came out. You had, let's go back. Modern Warfare 1 came out in 2019, and then shortly after that, you had Warzone arrive. Modern Warfare 2 comes out, you get Warzone 2. Even though it's still called Warzone, it's like an evolutionary leap, you know? And then things have changed then. Some engines, switch ups, and new maps and new modes and whatnot, but it's mostly the same thing. So the gist is, if Verdansk doesn't hit and doesn't hold on to its players, it's going to lead to Warzone not being evolved. I think they'll pull back resources. I don't see them dropping it entirely. That would be the weirdest bag fumble, even if the bag is shrinking all the time, because it's still got a good player base, and there's still potential there. But they would probably scale back and just have it like a little side project at that point. What I want to see for all of this, you know, the whole next gen piece, whatever's happening, I would love for them to just either cut down on Warzone or scrap it entirely, because it has been dying a death for a bit. Like, if you look at some of the play accounts that you can get your hands on, I know we said Steam isn't the be all and end all, but it's one of the best representations you can get is like Call of Duty on there. And if you look at like Twitch and the viewership, things have dropped off a little bit. They had some issues in the esports scene as well. Go back to basics. Kind of forget about Warzone. I think the battle royale thing has really run its course. Only Fortnite is really doing it really well, and even then, that's a bit, you know.
PUBG.
PUBG's, yeah. Apex
PUBG continues to be in the top. PUBG continues to be in the top 3 Steamed played games every single day.
I think it depends.
Meanwhile, Call of Duty can't even crack the top 10 right now.
It depends on the market as well. It does depend on the market for like PUBG and PUBG Mobile. Like, if we're talking about, I don't know, the markets in like North America, UK, Europe, it's a different story. But what I would like to see them do is go back to basics and focus on creating like a world-class multiplayer experience, than having any time spent on this microtransaction fueled, bizarre, cheater-ridden, unstable battle royale thing when battle royale's had its day. That's what I'd like to see.
Multiplayer itself is cheater written, microtransaction heavy. $80 to play as the Ninja Turtles, baby.
Well, if you want to play as all of them, yeah, that's the thing. But that's not the first time they've done that. When they did, what was it, last year or year before, when they did the whole, was it the Kong thing, the Kong Godzilla thing, and they had like a gauntlet that you could get, but to get it, you had to buy like $100 worth of packs or something. They live on that. But that's, you know, that aside, that's what I'd like to see them do, because every year, because Call of Duty was built on multiplayer, all the success of that franchise was built on the multiplayer, and every single year it seems like it's getting progressively worse. Black Ops 6 was the best we had in a long time. Started off really well. Feels like it's been completely downgraded over the last 6 months, and things are just like spilling out all over the place. And that's
You want to hear my hot take?
Give me a hot take.
The last good Call of Duty multiplayer was World War II in 2017.
Yeah, people say the pro scene was really good.
It might not be the hottest, but that is the last one where I went, this is enjoyable.
Yeah.
Everything after that became chore is not the best word to use, but I can't think of another word.
Yeah, for me it's probably Cold War. What was Cold War? 2020, I think 2020.
Yes.
Cold War was I was so good at Cold War. Hated Vanguard after that. I barely even played Vanguard. And then after that, we had the debacles of Modern Warfare 2 and 3, and now we're sitting on Black Ops 6, which is technically a good game, but from the pro level down, it's just there's so much that could be made better about it. And maybe the answer to that is to push down Warzone and focus a bit more on the multiplayer stuff, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with it. I think it's going to be. See, these guys, man, they're hoping for a Fortnite OG style revival. Fortnite OG comes out. What is it? Peak of like 40 million players or something like ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
People they came flooding back into it, and since then, Epic has been doing an absolute boon, and all of the diversity in Fortnite has been insane. You can't get that with Warzone because Verdansk. I mean, I wrote an article a while ago, and it was like saying you don't miss Verdansk, you miss the vibes, right? Because Verdansk landed with Warzone in 2020, where everyone was suffering under the weight of COVID-19. And it was a place where millions of people came together to play with their friends and family and connect across borders and from lockdown and all this stuff. And it was free to play, and it was super accessible, and it landed at a time where everyone had free time. So because of that, we all got on and we all had a laugh. And then things moved on. So I think they think that bringing back Verdansk is going to be this golden ticket back to success. We've seen some of the biggest streamers that played this game before. Like one of the examples I can bring up is Tim the Tatman, right? Really, really prolific Warzone streamer back in the day, has moved on to other stuff long since then. Like right now, he's really enjoying Marvel Rivals, which so many streamers are. He said he's not being paid by NetEase, but he has streamed something like 200 hours of Marvel Rivals or something ridiculous. He has said he's got no intention of going back to Warzone just because Verdansk is coming back. And that's the gist that we're seeing from a lot of people as well, is that just because it's coming back doesn't mean we're going to play it. It's like they're working with a build it and they will come mentality. That's why they're bringing it back in OG as it existed back then. But what they're not bringing back is how it felt to play it back then. The engine's different. The mechanics are different. Omni movement will be in it. And it's got all the issues that Warzone has today. So this is not going to be a golden ticket, Activision. So prepare to have Warzone have no further evolutions and updates in the future. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, there were certain circumstances that were happening in that time period, like you mentioned, for it to be so successful. Like obviously the pandemic, can't go out anywhere. We're social distancing. And the best thing to do is, hey, why don't we just boot up some Call of Duty, get on Verdansk, and let's do it up, So,
and those days are long gone. And
you ready for another? Ready for another take?
Yeah.
Granted, this one's I think at this point cold is cold. Omni movement killed this franchise. Omni movement is the worst mechanic this franchise has ever introduced.
Damn.
All it does, is allow just the cheesiest of cheesers to play who look like absolute idiots. It takes away anything that made Call of Duty feel enjoyable, because all you see is just a bunch of idiots as soon as every match starts diving around like a stupid Magikarp that has the IQ of -100. And I don't care. If you find Omni movement a good feature of this game, your card should be revoked, and you can't tell anybody what makes a good game anymore. Like, Halo Infinite is a 10 times better game than Call of Duty currently is, and it's not even close. It's just because of Halo Infinite couldn't recover the way you would expect with what they're doing, and that's why they're moving, to Unreal Engine for next Halo games and all that stuff. I think and we can clip this and whatever and come back to me in 5 to 6 years if we're all alive and the meteor hasn't destroyed us all.
I thought you said the media
Ah,
hasn't destroyed us all.
It did.
Because
If the meteor has,
we do
the
that,
meteor.
right? We
No. The big ball of meat flying in the sky. The meat meteor. No, I think in 5 years' time, whatever the next Halo game is, will be bigger than what Call of Duty is.
Maybe.
And-
I mean, I go away on the Omni movement thing though, because this was obviously one of the biggest USPs for Black Ops 6 was Omni movement, and it was really cool to start with, but it became a bit gimmicky. But
Yep.
I will say, as someone that has put a fair wedge of time into Black Ops 6, I don't really see it. I don't really see people use it, and if they do, it's like an off the cuff diving around the corner to like fake chow someone and re-chow them or whatever.
See,
people
all I see are people diving around like idiots,
I don't
and then
see it.
hitboxes are
like sliding. I'll be honest, I turn off Omni movement. All I do is slide because that's what I'm used to, and I've been used to that since 2019. But this isn't the first time we've had things like this. Look at Black Ops 2, Black Ops 1 comes out in 2010, and you have dolphin dive in that, and this is just a reiteration of that. And back then, no one was complaining about that. That was cool. You'd run forward and you dive behind cover, and it felt like an action sequence. I think it's great for people that you get the movement nerds, the movement sweats that they do, they are flying around the map with like sensitivity on the max and they're spinning around and that gets a bit cheesy. I hate that.
Yeah.
But when people are using it and they look genuinely, I don't know, acrobatic and fluid, like if you watch the Call of Duty League, you get a lot of it in there as well. And there are some people that are famed for their movement. And when they do it, you're like awestruck. You're like, wow, this looks incredible. They know all the spots. They know when to. The movement is down absolutely down pat. But I don't think it was impactful enough in multiplayer for it to have presented an issue. I certainly don't see it. Like, I'm not getting dipped on all the time, but I mean, maybe my KD isn't high enough to be in the lobbies with the people that are doing all these maneuvers.
What do you mean? That has no. Your KD can be a 0.25 and you're getting in with the sweats.
Oh, I mean, maybe
that's another thing that's broken in this stupid
maybe
The matchmaking.
We'll find out more about skill-based matchmaking in Call of Duty very, very soon with our exclusive interview with the man who created it off the back of Tom Henderson's matchmaking.
Great transition, G.
Not matchmaking, networking. Tom Henderson isn't matchmaking with anyone in the Call of Duty scene.
Networking, matchmaking, same thing. You need a network to matchmake. I got you.
Yeah, but to put like a cap on it, I think Warzone isn't in the best place that it could be right now. Neither are most battle royale games, as we've kind of said. And I think that Verdansk is not going to be the golden ticket they think it is. And I honestly believe it could lead to the inevitable downfall of this thing. Maybe they could do something different. Everyone says, well, bring out Blackout 2 or something, or DMZ 2 or something like that. Just completely change it up on its head. But I mean, we mentioned about extraction shooters earlier on in the episode. It's not going to work.
I honestly think DMZ would be a lot better of a transition for Call of Duty at this point.
Probably, yeah. I mean, anything better.
I don't know. I think Call of Duty needs to go back to the drawing board in a lot of ways, though. But it prints too much damn money. Because once again, I was looking through the numbers since 2020 or 2003 or whatever, the last 21 years, Call of Duty has been the best-selling game for I think 16 of those. 22 years or 7, 8, even higher. I think 18.
Well, look at,
but we got to move on because we're running low. It's time to transition.
Yeah, just complete. Because honestly, I could talk about this for hours and hours.
We could, and I knew it was gonna. I even put in the notes. COD will take up most time.
Yeah,
because it will get us debated.
Yeah,
but we got to move. We got to move to trivia because there are developments. Because I'm no longer solely in last. Because of last week, I am now tied for last with Grant. AP still leads with 1.75 points. Me and Grant are at 1.5 points because I got the special acronym. Greatest moment of my life, not really, but one of them. But now, AP, you get to lead the way before we get to the Gong Lord of Insider Gaming. We got trivia time. And we know he's Googling them and he's going to come in and say he knew everything.
Yeah.
I need to preface this though. If this is another week full of Nintendo questions,
oh, son of a bitch.
I'm gonna lodge a complaint with Insider Gaming HR at this point.
All right, AP, you go first before I miss Grant.
I was gonna say Mike had on a Nintendo shirt prior to us starting to
Yeah.
record, so that might be a little hint there, Grant.
Oh, man.
No, I have 2 questions. I might go with the second one now.
Oh, okay. So for my question, it's actually not Nintendo this week. It's a PlayStation question. So there you go. You're saved, Grant. So this is a question based on the PlayStation controller, the face buttons you have. You have triangle, circle, square, and X. Well, that's what most people call it, X. What is it actually called? Do you know the answer to that question?
Yeah, it's cross.
Yeah, that's correct.
Like you got that.
Yep.
I literally was about to be like, you mean cross? All right.
A lot of people think it's X though, believe it or not. Yeah.
My
You
favorite
guys are
thing
right.
was the Super Bowl halftime show, and that Kendrick Lamar had the face buttons as part of his setup.
Yeah, that was dope.
All right.
Yep.
I will save Grant's question for last. So we're gonna
It's appropriate when you hear the question.
we're gonna, because AP didn't do Nintendo, we're gonna do Nintendo.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
This one's straightforward. I think this one might be the easiest of the ones I've asked. What is the maximum number of power stars a player can collect in Super Mario 64?
64.
No, it's not 64.
A
Shoot.
multiple of 12.
Oh.
Wait, 64 is a multiple of 12. Ignore me. My God. I don't know.
I feel like it's 90 something. Is it
96.
90? Is it 94? 96?
Nope.
Damn it.
Is it just 900?
120.
Oh
Like
my God.
120 stars in Mario 64.
I don't even know what
The
they
other
are.
question I'm gonna save for next week. That one, it might be more of a niche question, but it's a good one. It made me happy. All right, Grant, what you got?
So I said it was appropriate we're leaving it for last because my question is about the last of us.
Of course.
Based on the news that we had as well, it's apropos. So, right, this is the thing. We're talking about part 2 as well. This is a double header, we'll say, because I like to do this. You have the opportunity to get a bonus point. I always like doing this. So in The Last of Us Part 2, Ellie travels to a hospital. When she gets there, she ambushes a guard who's playing video games in a basement-style area. What device is that guard playing games on?
I believe he's playing a PSP.
You know what? I'm gonna say, hold on.
Or is it a Vita?
I'm gonna say Vita.
Oh, it's a PS Vita. It is, yeah.
You said PSP.
I did. Damn it!
You gave your answer.
Come on!
And the thing is, my immediate thought was, I'm gonna go the opposite of what AP says.
I remember that
Says
too.
Vita, I'm saying
We have the
PSP or
bonus.
vice versa.
We have
Son
the
of a
bonus.
bitch.
I don't know if you guys will get this at all, but we have the bonus.
Okay.
What game was being played on the Vita?
NBA 07 The Life. I don't remember.
AP, any idea?
Oh man. I'm trying to think. It's been so long since I've played part 2, man.
Egg timer. Egg timer.
It's not gonna come to me.
You
No,
give in.
I get
Oh
it.
man. Hotline Miami.
What a game. What a great game that I
Yeah.
would not have ever guessed in a million
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
But you know what that means? Guess who guess who's no longer in first place?
I changed it. I tried to change it real quick.
Guess
Ah.
guess who has jumped
Man.
from third first?
Man.
No, man.
All right, we're gonna move on.
I'm not
we
happy
gotta get
about
Tom
that.
in here.
Yeah.
It's time to introduce the one, the only Gong Lord of Insider Gaming, Tom Henderson. Tom, how bad is Omni Movement, and do you also think it's the worst addition to Call of Duty ever?
No, I think Omni Movement's fine.
You're wrong.
No, I actually. So they introduced that to try and stop all of the, like the YY spin Warzone clips that you probably saw a few years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why they introduced it, to try and stop that. But yeah, on that point of Call of Duty and what's next, I think just very quickly, because I mean, I'm the same as Grant. We could probably discuss this for hours, right? But I think Call of Duty is in that unique position now where they can capitalize on something that a lot of publishers have been capitalizing on, and do you know what that is?
No.
Nostalgia.
Yes. Yes, I think
The hell, that drug.
I think that Call of Duty should move forward and start remastering some of their old games.
Mm.
Modern Warfare 2, man.
Yeah,
But the thing is, I agree.
Mhm.
But we've already seen it with Modern Warfare remastered. Granted, they got the multiplayer in that, but like
Mhm.
Modern Warfare 2, they
Two.
only remastered the campaign.
Mm.
Yes, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they have to include the multiplayer.
Yeah,
And we're seeing it with the Gears of War too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have to include the multiplayer, but I think that they're in this very unique position now where if Warzone does well, not fail, because it's not going to fail, right? There's always still going to be people who play Warzone, but it's now at that point where it probably isn't giving the returns that it should be, or that they should be expecting at this stage. I think what they should do is allocate a lot of that resource to doing remasters, and every 6 months after a mainline release, do a remaster of an older game, and then also have a DLC kind of associated with that remaster as well. So they're getting like 2 for 1. And they're probably going to see 300-400 million in sales for that remaster, and it's going to bump up the yearly revenues and whatnot. So I think doing some. I want Black Ops 2 remastered. That's all I want in life.
See, that's the thing.
Nah.
I don't even need it remastered. I just need the maps back.
Well, you get
it
that.
needs-
No.
Look at like
No.
Raid and whatever. They come
Yeah,
back every
yeah.
time. Yeah, they're always coming back. Cold War had loads of those.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
probably
true.
in that position as well, where they've done a lot of the work already, right, with the old games, because it's all on
Yeah, man.
So-
on the same engine at this point.
Black Ops 2 would
I
be
need-
nuts, yeah.
I need the return of my favorite shotgun ever in Call of Duty. And if Call of Duty wants to get me back, they don't care about me. But if they bring me back dual wielding Model 1887s,
Oh,
I'm
man.
down.
Oh,
Yeah,
Just
man.
so much fun
Yeah.
running around like a dumbass and just
dusting, folks.
An underrated shotgun was the KSG in Black Ops 2. Man, that was like a
Is that
sniper
the double-barreled
rifle.
one?
No, that was the one with the slug. Well, like it was like a sniper
okay.
rifle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was cool.
but I don't know. Then like the idea of it makes sense. Part of me would like it. The other part of me is I just went off about a half hour ago on remasters and remakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I'm so tired
the
of it.
problem with Call of Duty, I mean, like you guys said, is that it Warzone released at such a perfect time, where they're never ever going to see that returns if they do anything like that again. And I think the extraction shooter market was the direction a lot of publishers thought is where the industry was going, and that was going to be the next big thing. But now it seems like that's shifted quite substantially, and a lot of people are now doing the remakes and the remasters and going down that route and relying on nostalgia. Now, granted, how long can that last, right? Because it's probably 2 or 3 years of remakes and remasters, and then I guess, well, then we'll see whatever's the next big thing after that. But yeah, I think Call of Duty's got 20 years of history or 20 years plus that I can capitalize on. So to me, that
Is it
makes
wrong?
sense.
Absolutely.
I mean, I
Is
would.
it wrong I
Yeah.
wanted to get rid of give up on campaigns too?
What Call of Duty? The Call of
Yeah.
Duty campaigns are
I've
actually do move units.
I've
from what
always
I've been
liked
told.
campaigns. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to see a remake of, really like COD 2 or something, right? Like one of the first ones with the multiplayer that popped and, set the foundation for what came after. Like, a lot of people think that the origins and the foundation of Call of Duty is World War II, when really that's like in the minority for the games that they've done is that kind of theater there. But I would really like to see that come back. The last one was in Vanguard was a bit of a, that was, we forget that one even existed. That was an absolute nightmare. And Mike was saying that World War II had like the best multiplayer in years.
That was the last one I liked.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is, people always appreciate that, and I think going back to the roots would be a really good move definitely. I mean, you'd bring back a lot of the old heads. You know, there'd be a lot of people that wouldn't even remember the maps or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
And then you get
these
in, and then
days-
you realize you can't compete because you're in your 30s or 40s now.
Yeah,
15-year-old that
man.
you used to be, that you used to wreck. But you know what?
Yeah,
Again,
man.
we're gonna stick on Call of Duty way too long. Tom, how are things going? You dropped you dropped earlier this week the Far Cry report. You teased more last week. What else can we expect? What do you got in the pipeline?
Yeah, so on Far Cry, that was something that I was working on for quite a while. Only kind of got that confirmation last week that it was rebooted. It's interesting because I didn't hear the word cancelled. It's been rebooted. So they're still in some way, shape, or form still aiming to do some kind of multiplayer component. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, and you guys have already discussed it, so I'm not going to really chime in too much. But just Ubisoft and chasing trends, man. It's just it doesn't work. Like by the problem is with chasing trends in game development these days is that you can't do it because it takes 3 to 4 years to bloody develop the goddamn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then by that point, the trend's gone. So yeah, to be honest, it seemed like they was trying to capitalize more on the IP rather than the extraction shooter market. Like they're just trying to leverage that IP as much as they can. But yeah, we'll see, man. And Blackbird as well, which is the next mainline Far Cry game. I mentioned it in the report that is scheduled for 2026. It seems like this year we're probably going to get the next mainline Ghost Recon game. I have asked around as well to try and see what's going on with the Splinter Cell remake. That's still trucking along in development. A lot of people think that's quietly cancelled, but I've seen quite a lot on that game, and it looks really good. So I'm really excited to see that.
Let's go.
See, what someone
Excited
needs
for
to
that
do
one.
is someone needs to just go outside Ubisoft Toronto. Don't do this, by the way. I'm joking. And hold up a sign that just says Splinter Cell remake when ? Just a big poster.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it next year. To be honest, but that's not confirmation on like I've heard when it is going to be, but from what I've seen and the quality of it, I would expect it probably next year, probably first half of next year maybe, and then they'll have a bigger game towards the end of 20. I think they're aiming for Assassin's Creed Hex there, right? At the end of 26. So yeah, Ubisoft's it's interesting because Ubisoft are really going through it right now, but at the same time, their pipeline of games, they're really pretty cool, to be honest. Altera that I did a report on as well, the Animal Crossing-esque kind of game that looks really cool. So yeah, they've got a lot going on, but at the same time, they've also got a lot of bad going on as well, which you know.
Man, Splinter Cell. I keep thinking of Splinter Cell, and it makes me sad because, granted, I know we're never going to hit this era again, but think about this: Splinter Cell, like, the first one came out in 2002. Splinter Cell 2, Pandora Tomorrow, came out in 2004. And then, to me, the best Splinter Cell, Chaos Theory, came out a year later in 2005.
Man.
In a 3-year span, 4 years, full calendar years, we got 3 great games that just got better and better and better. And I know this is a whole, back in my day type of thing, but man, back in our day, it was so much better.
They were crushing it, man.
Yeah.
Such a good series.
Ubisoft was also a well-respected studio at that point. And I don't know. I mean, they got work to do to get back to that. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah,
we talked about Ubisoft enough.
Yeah, and apart from that as well, I've heard quite a bit of Embark Studios Arc Raiders this week. I think there was a big play test last week. I know you've already talked about extraction shooters and how that's on its way out. But Arc Raiders looks pretty well polished and looks pretty interesting.
Didn't they pivot? Didn't they pivot away from being an extraction shooter to being more of like just a survival, I don't think, didn't they pivot away from that?
I mean, everything on there still calls it a multiplayer extraction adventure.
Yeah, I think that's a conversation after maybe an exclusive Insider Gaming article, to be honest. So we'll have to leave that one. And yeah, just the usual stuff I've been up to. I've been playing a lot of Mecha Break as well. Don't know if anyone's played that game. But
I've dived into it. I'm really bad.
yeah,
I'm bad at a lot of games. So
I got to like master rank, and I was like, yes, I've made it because master rank seems prestigious and the top rank, right? And then I checked online, it's like I've still got another 4 more ranks to go. So I'm like, oh man.
well, luckily you still got time because they don't have a set end date of the beta yet. Granted, so I know the set end date of the beta, but I can't say the set end date of the beta.
Oh,
So
man.
play the beta.
I don't even know the end date. So what's going on?
It's a fun game.
Yeah.
I think it's a game that's coming in at the right time
Mhm.
for what people want, because Armored Core 6 people like, but it wasn't, it didn't really wasn't more than just a blip on the radar. Titanfall people obviously have been wanting, and this is I think the closest. Granted, it's a completely different style, but this is the closest I think those types of gamers are going to get anytime soon, and it's working. What they're doing is working, and they're even getting people to talk about things that have nothing to do with the gameplay, certain physical features, which is even funnier to read about and see what people are saying and watch.
Great physics.
Because everything, just that game, it's just fun. And that's, to me, what Reggie Fils-Aimé has the greatest line in gaming history. If it's not fun, why bother? And that's every publisher, every developer needs to have that on their wall. If it's not fun, why bother? Because man, that I think would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, and then on Mech Talk as well, we did get the information today, but yesterday for listeners, that Respawn has cancelled its FPS game. Now, granted, we're not entirely sure what that is. You're always going to get the speculation it was Titanfall 3, but I have it on good authority that was cancelled long ago. Maybe this was a reboot of the Titanfall 3 project. I'm not sure yet, but I'll start digging into that and hopefully trying to get some answers. But on EA Talk, I am glad that this has happened. We did do another kind of mini exclusive, but we reported that Battlefield Labs is having its first playtest today for listeners. So yeah, the weekly questions can now end on what is going on with Battlefield because it's out there now.
Hold on, you say the weekly questions. That just pauses it this week. Next week we'll be back.
Yeah.
Speaking of questions, we do have one. We posted on our forums, insidergaming.com/forums. You can sign up completely for free and join a community that, just likes to talk about games without the problems that typical social media have. I decided to throw a Q&A up there, and one of the questions, was a fun one, I think, for all of us. And it comes from one of our users, a new user who signed up specifically to ask this question, Harry1. Wow, saying that out loud. I didn't put that together until I said it out loud. Anyway, the Harry one
falling into a
asked,
trap.
Yep.
predictions for GTA 6 Online. And we could AP, haven't heard from you in a little bit. What would you say? What would you predict or like to see, expect to see from GTA 6 Online, other than $100 apparently that everybody thinks is going to happen for the base version of GTA 6?
Yeah, everyone's been talking about that. Yeah, I don't foresee that happening because the industry everyone will just freak the hell out. But as far as GTA 6 Online, I would love to see like an expansive open world. Obviously, the open world is amazing, and if I said did I say GTA 5 Online? I meant GTA 6 Online. Obviously, I would love to see an expansive open world for GTA 6 Online, even bigger than what we have in GTA 5. That would be great. Let me see. Maybe like multiple character slots. That would be kind of cool. You kind of have more than one online character that you can use, whenever you're online with it. Let's see what else would be fun. maybe different obviously you can buy different properties in GTA 6 online. How about customizable properties? You can go in and kind of design your pad kind of like how you do in the Sims, right? Kind of deck it out a little bit to your liking. I think that would be kind of cool. you know. Yeah. Yeah, I think those would be pretty dope features.
Tom, what about you?
Oh, I'm like a boomer when it comes to GTA. I just play the single player and that's it. So
See, I don't even do that. The second I got in GTA 5, the second I unlocked GTA Online, I stopped playing the single player.
Wow.
nah, man, nah.
Yeah.
Like
man.
Man. It's
the
such a
single
good story,
player,
man.
yeah, you gotta be played.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think with GTA Online, I think they've already laid such a good foundation that they don't really need to do anything too extreme, in my opinion. Like all of the way that people can just make their own maps and races and content. That GTA kind of set that foundation, in my opinion, of turning a game more into like a platform, right? So
Yeah.
maybe they can do some magic on that end and make it more like a platform rather than a game within a game. But yeah, I don't really see or know what else they can do, to be honest. I did do a report a few years ago that explained that the online and the single play portion was going to be like ever evolving. I'm not sure if they're still going down that route. And how exactly that would work, but I think even the small things like everyone takes the mick out of the GTA 5 construction site, that it's never changed, right, in like 10 years or whatever. But even small things like that, where like the world is actually evolving, where that building is getting built every
Living and breathing.
yeah, exactly, yeah, something like that would be really cool.
I like that.
I want a larger world for online. Like a larger map. The idea of customizing my place would be fantastic.
Yeah, man.
But that's the thing. You brought up the foundation. I think GTA Online to this day is still as great as it can be, aside from just make the world a little bit bigger. How much bigger? I don't. Who knows? But just a little bit. My biggest thing is what they can do to stop, and they've gotten better with it, but they need to just stop the people who will come in just to ruin everybody else's time. It's one thing if you got people who just go around,
how do you
killing
police
you.
that?
That is what it is. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the $100 a person question.
Yeah,
Yes.
man. I think like we say, the foundation, where it's at now, what more can you do? Because over the last decade, they've added so much to online. And there are some things they can maybe do that are specific to GTA 6. Like we know, or at least we've had it suggested that like social media and influencers and all that kind of stuff might be a really impactful part of Grand Theft Auto 6 in some way, because there were so many clips in the first trailer where they showed people like using social networking apps or the video sharing platforms and things. So maybe that could be a thing they go with in GTA Online 2, whatever you want to call it. And they have that where you can go out and you can become like an influencer and make crazy videos and share them online and have people, they could do that. They've got the social club feature, so they could. What Tom said about them constantly evolving the world, agreed. That would be really cool. Look at Red Dead Redemption 2. You'll see someone building a house at the start of the game. You go back, they're halfway done. You go back later on, they've built the house and they're living in it. They've done that. They could do that in Grand Theft Auto 6, and I think they will. They will keep it evolving. I just hope they don't do with GTA 6 what they did with GTA 5, where the story comes out and then nothing, and all they put all their eggs into the online basket, and the single player just kind of sits there and it's done forever, and that's it. Like so many people thought they'd do what they did with Red Dead, where they have like an undead nightmare kind of thing. They'd have at least something to expand it. Look at back in the day. Look at GTA 4, for example, with the Lost and the Damned and the Ballad of Gay Tony. Like that had some fantastic spin-offs and expansions. So I hope they do a bit more of that. But as for the online, I think it's going to be mostly exactly the same as we have now, just in, what is it called, Leonida or Leonida, something like that. I don't know what the map's called. They'll have it the exact same operating system, but they're shark cards, whatever. Maybe they'll call them piranha cards. I don't know. Something. But yeah, I think there's not going to be too much. How do you innovate when you've already done everything? You know,
I got a great Easter egg they can throw in this game, though.
do it.
They can throw in a restaurant,
Here we go.
and they could have the cluck and bell, right? And when you go, they have someone there every now and then online placing a certain order. And I want to see them come in and go, I need two number 9.
Yes.
Number 9 large.
Oh my
number
God.
6 with extra dip.
That would
With
be
A number
extra
7. 2 number 45s. 1 with cheese. And a large soda.
Man, that would have been such a good. That would have been the best trivia question, man.
Oh,
Read
yeah.
out
I
Big
want
Smoke's
that.
order.
I want that Easter egg to come back so much.
Absolutely.
That'd be it.
Classic, man.
Tom, is there anything coming up in the next week that people should be on the lookout here before we start wrapping up?
Nothing that I'm necessarily working on that I would say keep an eye out for. I would say with the first Battlefield playtest coming out today, when listeners are listening, there probably is going to be some leaks, right? So I expect probably a lot of coverage on Inside the Gaming over the weekend. I know that they're doing quite a lot in terms of security. So like your typical gamer tag on screen and codes and stuff, that change position on screen. So it's hard to cover the watermarks and whatnot. But I think what they're also doing is having like some 3D hologram or something on the screen to try and like catch people off as well. But like the anti-leak security measures that companies are now taking are pretty extreme. So if you are in the test, I will say don't leak it. But my DMs are always open.
Don't leak it if you want to still play it.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of information, not necessarily screenshots and videos. I mean, granted, with these big tests, somebody always does it right, but I think there's going to be a lot of reports and information. I can already tell you there's going to be 10 grenades, 6 assault rifles, actually 10 assault rifles, 6 LMGs, 4 carbines, 4 SMGs, 4 sidearms, 3 DMRs, 2 shotguns, 1 sniper rifle. There's going to be 2 tanks playable. Yeah, but this is just a test, so chill your beans.
Yeah,
like
still,
this isn't
man.
the full...
I main snipers in Battlefield games, man.
Oh, you're one of them.
Yeah,
Oh.
I sit back and I set up my little camp. I usually have the respawn beacons and stuff, and the motion sensors next to me. Oh
No, right.
Oh, man.
Let's wrap it up. Come on, Albert. Come on.
I mean dying. That's what I mean. I am a little tease. I am working on a, hopefully next week. I don't know, but I'm hearing a lot about forward movement on EA and the NFL extending their current license. So I don't know how close it is, but I'm trying to track that.
I did hear, before we move on from this, I did hear that Battlefield 6 is going to have Omni movement. I heard that somewhere. They're going to pull that in, man. So you got to watch out.
I swear to God. I swear to God, you better be joking and pulling my chain right.
I heard jetpacks.
See, you know why Grant's not angry, because he's just sat at the back of the map and he's not bothered.
I don't
He
have
isn't
to move
moving
anywhere.
anything.
Omni movement, nah, that's not for me, man. I'm just gonna pitch a tent. That's it.
I quit all these games. Anyway, we're wrapping. Yeah, we're done. We're done. You can follow us. You can subscribe on any platform where you get your podcasts. Follow Insider Gaming on social media at Insider Gaming IG. On Twitter, it's Insider Game, or on YouTube, it's Insider Gaming. Blue Sky Insider-Gaming.com. Grant, you can find at Nukov _ Nukov, or are you the Swedish band?
Whichever one, just Nukov, I'll pop up. That's it. That's the one. Twitch, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, X, all of them. Nukov.
And AP, it's time for you to tell the people where they can find you and take it away to wrap us up before I lose my mind on Omni Movement again.
You guys, if you're so inclined to follow me over on YouTube, you can hit me up there, youtube.com/@weeklywrapup. I'm also on Instagram. I'm on X as well, @theweeklywrapup. Also on Blue Sky. You want to hit me up there? You can always find me @Albert Perkins. You can check me out there. And for Grant, Mike, and Tom, I am, of course, your host with the most A's to be Albert Perkins, and we will see you on the inside.
Death to Omni!